Hey everyone, I am on a very carefully rigged setup here. Going live. Very excited. Hello, hello, hello. Wait a moment. So if you could see my setup, you would be like, whoa, that's precarious. I have flipped over an ice bucket and put my laptop on it. So I'm gonna wait for Tamsen. Let's see. Oh, here she comes. Hello. It's the moment of suspense. Wait, she's coming back. This is the most stressful moment. Oh, there she is.
Hi.
Hi, Tamsen.
Try
Can you hear me?
to figure out.
Okay,
Can you hear
good.
me?
I can. You know what? I was just saying I'm in this hotel room in this very precarious thing I've set up. I've flipped over an ice bucket. My laptop is sitting on top of it. I'm trying to channel the wonderful and professional Tamsen Fadal. Hello,
Oh,
welcome.
please. How are
I'm
you?
good.
It's so funny. I just did an Instagram live Monday and I was at an event, so I was like, I need a space. And there was like a little closet and I was like in the closet. And I'm like,
I've done
this
that.
is so awesome because nobody would ever know. I was like trying to
Yes.
show my husband. I'm like, this was a closet. He goes, I know you've told me like 10 times. Like, I get you were in a closet.
Aw,
Yeah.
I'm so
How
glad
are
you're
you?
here. I'm good. I'm really happy to see your face.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for joining us
I'm so
here
excited
on
to see
Alloy
you.
platform. I have many, many questions for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce you and get us started. And I've already dropped a little like if she can give us 5 more minutes, but we'll see how we do. We'll
Oh,
see how we
yay. Okay,
do.
yeah, whatever. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Tamsen Fadal is an award-winning journalist, speaker, author, podcast host, and menopause advocate. She's dedicated to championing women's stories, being bold in midlife and beyond. With a passionate, loyal social media audience of nearly 3 million, Tamsen shares tips and advice, helping women move into their next chapter with confidence, courage, and curiosity. Tamsen is the author of multiple books in which she empowers women to navigate change and create new beginnings. She's currently working on her much anticipated fourth book focused on menopause. Welcome again, Tamsen. I know you're just back from South by Southwest. How was
Yeah.
it? What was the
Oh,
takeaway
it
for
was
you?
great. Yeah, it was great. It was so I've never been to South by Southwest before, so I don't really have any gauge of like what it was supposed to be or what it was, but what it was for me anyway, because I was just so immersed in, this conversation about, the health of women and so I just it was just amazing. It was amazing to see everybody come together. It was amazing to see so many women in the same
Yeah.
place, from all over the country now. It's like Instagram comes to life. It's
Yeah.
like everybody
Yeah.
that we've been talking to. But more importantly, I think I was excited to see a lot of young women in the audience listening to these conversations that I certainly wasn't having at 20 and 30 years old. So that was a very cool part to me.
Yeah. I was thinking ahead of asking you this question that it must be really something to be in spaces that are growing in size where menopause and midlife and looking ahead to sort of second half of life
Right.
is the focus of the conversation.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, it's
that's
it's
incredible.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Jody just said she was at Saturday's conversation. Hi there, Jody.
And it was
Um,
amazing, she
yeah,
said.
it was really cool. Um, it's really neat to be in that space, and it's also I think it was also a little scary. Like I was thinking about when I first set out to talk about that, and I'm like, what? I'm talking about stuff that like I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But now I feel very proud of that, and I think that that's the kind of cool part because we won't have women that are coming up behind us feeling, oh, should I, shouldn't I? It's just like that becomes the
Yeah.
norm, and that's where we talk about normalizing the conversation.
Um, so Tamsin, you've been privy to many conversations by now. You're at the fore of this menopausal dialogue, wave, change, shift in the cultural narrative in the women's health space. I'm wondering what stands out to you as an unrelenting misconception about menopause that you feel kind of especially responsible or dutiful
Yeah.
about dispelling?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question that I have not been asked before.
I
But I
worked
guess I
really,
have to.
really hard on my question script.
It's really
I was like,
good.
what can I ask
Um,
her that she's
it's
never been
really good.
asked before?
I would say that the big myth for me that I was so confused about was that hormone therapy causes breast cancer. And I think that for
Mm,
me, that myth was especially important, is especially important to dispel because I lost my mother to breast cancer. And as a result of one, not having the conversation, and two, not knowing what to do, I didn't think that I was a candidate for hormone therapy. So I hear from a lot of women that feel the same way and feel like every day I get that question every day, like multiple questions about that. So I think that that's a big myth because that means you're not going forward in the conversation. Because if you think that already, which is such a big fear of women, that why would you even have the next question like, should I do it or shouldn't? And so I think dispelling that, and I think also dispelling the fact that menopause doesn't happen at 50. Menopause it can be in your late 30s that you start having these symptoms. And I think that if you know that, you can move forward with some kind of
yeah.
solutions. And that's really what my, you know, advocacy has been all about. Is like, I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, but I do think that you have got to take control of your health and harness the information that you have and work alongside the doctors, because to their admission, this is a new open
No.
new space for a lot of them. But I think that's an exciting opportunity too,
Yes.
because then it lets you feel just as confident going into the room. Like, I don't want to go into my doctor's office and feel that I don't know, that I'm just like halfway, don't have a lot of information. I like that I can work alongside them. And if you have a doctor open to listening,
Yeah.
that makes all the difference
Yeah.
in the world.
So well said. And I always think too about this sort of organic grassroots women's collective movement that
Yeah.
you are front and center of, that's sort of invited the doctors or demand that medicine
Yeah.
meet us where we are. That's
Yep.
really quite
100%.
something. So Tamsen, you're especially candid about all aspects of your life. And I wonder if you would care to share with us what's in your menopausal toolkit. So you talked about hormone replacement.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to expand, but anything else that is for
Sure.
you.
Yeah. So hormone therapy, obviously, and I actually just started on testosterone not too long ago.
How
So
is it?
that's new for
Or
me.
is it too
It's
new
new for
to,
me.
okay.
I feel like I've noticed a little bit of a change. I don't know how much. I recently had a surgery. It was a few months ago. I guess it
Yeah.
was at the end of December for endometrium polyps. So that's always a thing for me.
Yeah.
And so I think after that, I kind of restarted on this and have been more consistent. So I'm finally seeing a change. So that's um, almost 3 months ish now on a consistent level. So we'll see. But that's a new one for me. It's a compound. It's you put it on your inside of your arm or inside of your thigh, and but for sure, estrogen and progesterone have been for a few years now, and so that has made a remarkable difference in how I sleep and in hot flashes and stuff. And it's not that I don't ever have symptoms, but they're way different than they used to be.
Right.
One, and then I've paid more attention. I left my job in
Yes.
December,
We're
and
going to
so
talk.
yes, I've been trying to pay more attention to two things because it's hard for me to like get this big to-do list, like wake up in the morning, do this, brush your teeth. Like I want all the information, but I can only process a few things at the same time. So I have I'm writing the book and I have all these things in it, but I go into it saying like, you can't do them all, like pick one or two and form habits first, because that's really what I think it's about. But for me, sleep and being in the gym more are the two things. And being in the gym more, not just like pounding away at the treadmill, but doing strength training. So those are the two things that are important to me. And then these are some like little stuff.
Yeah.
Because I use a natural deodorant, I use this like underarm scrub now
Oh,
because odor changes
okay.
in
Yeah.
menopause, so that's one of my
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And that's another like offside one. And then what else? Let
No,
me
that's
think.
so good to know. So
Yeah,
it's like a scrub that kind of helps neutralize changing.
bacteria.
Okay, and then you can enjoy a natural deodorant without all the
Yes.
aluminum and all the stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
So that's the other one. So I think those are my it's an odd toolkit, but I think it
No,
works,
no,
you
it's
know?
not. And I really appreciate your saying as well that it you kind of need to tackle only one or two things at a time in
Yeah.
depth. I think that's a thing also now in the conversation around menopause
Yeah.
is sorry, I'm looking at some of these ridiculous comments and wondering how to get rid of them, but I'm going to
Oh,
ignore all
I
now.
don't know. I'm not worried.
But I think it's so important to recognize that we can kind of only take bite-sized pieces. Not everyone. Some people are
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
at just putting their arms around all of it, but bite size is good for many of us and
Well,
matters.
I think if we don't do it like that, look, you can come on social and everybody has a lot
Yeah,
of advice, but if you feel so overwhelmed that you're like paralyzed with fear and you can't do anything, it does what's the point?
yeah,
So I really try not to like, and look, I was one of the ones that went, oh, you suck. Like, why can't you get
yeah,
it together? Why can't you get up early, brush your teeth backwards, jump in a cold plunge, and then go to the what? I can't, I
yeah.
can barely, like, some days I can't fall asleep for hours, and and so I can't get up at that. So anyway, I just feel like I try to give myself a little grace during this time. I also think that I've learned to appreciate that, I'm at 53 now, so I know that every day is precious. So I'm just trying to be a little more aware of that than I used to be,
Yeah.
that like, oh, I've got forever.
Yeah.
Like I think like today is my someday, and that's what I think about.
Mm, I
Yeah.
love that. I
Thank
just
you.
pivoting for 1 second. Someone asked what the name of the scrub was.
Oh, yeah, there's two that I use, but the one that I like is Pacifica, and it's a
Hmm.
coconut scrub.
Okay.
And I think you can get it. I think I have a link to it on my bio, but I think you
Okay.
can get it at Whole Foods,
Okay.
and you can get. I think at any drugstore. It's called Pacifica is the brand. Yeah,
Um, it never ceases to amaze me, I guess, just sort of in keeping with this information overload around menopause, that there are really so many women that still feel unsupported or overwhelmed. What advice do you give? I think taking bite-sized pieces at a time is a great piece, but is there anything else that you would say to someone who's just feeling like, you know what, I've just hit this thing. I'm
yeah,
perimenopausal, which is particularly like this time of symptoms.
scary,
How do
chaotic.
I navigate this?
Yeah. I think there's a few things. I think here's what I actually think. Once knowing you're perimenopausal is like half the battle.
Yeah,
That's
so
really the truth.
true.
I mean, when you don't know that that's what you're dealing with, then you're just feeling like you're in this, lost in this abyss. So knowing that is yay for you. Like, give yourself a pat on the back that you know that, and then you've got to figure out what it is that you want to tackle first. Like, for me, sleep was a big deal. Brain fog was a big deal. Those were two huge ones. I could the hot flashes sucked, but I could handle them.
Yeah.
But no sleep and brain fog were debilitating for me. So those
Mm-hmm.
were the two things that I knew I needed to handle. And I've talked about this. I ran around saying, like, I'm going to do every supplement in the world and it's
Oh
all going to
yeah,
be okay. And then I'm going to figure.
same.
And then I finally went to a doctor that I talked to about it, and I said, look, I can't do hormones because my mom had breast cancer. And the doctor said, that's not true. And let me sit down with you and talk about what's going on, and let me dispel some of the myths that you have.
Yeah.
And when I had somebody that I felt was holding my hand in that conversation, it felt a little bit better. And I've talked about this. I got them, I brought them home, they congealed in my medicine cabinet. Then I
Yep.
went back to the doctor, and then I
Yep.
started them. And then, things
It was a
changed. Like my
process.
brain, it was a process. My brain fog started to lift, I started to sleep. When you don't get sleep, you feel like you're losing it.
Yeah.
You can feel like you're losing your mind. And so those were the two things that I felt were important. And so I think it's really critical, whether you're doing it with telehealth or you're doing it in person, to find
Yeah.
somebody that can guide you through that, and to get rid of somebody that can't.
Excellent
That's just as
advice.
important.
That's so helpful. Thank you so much. I'm pivoting a
Hmm.
bit now. As you know, women
Yes.
love hearing from you about dating life, getting remarried. Um, for anyone who's feeling particularly stuck
Yeah.
around that topic at this moment in their lives, any advice for women who feel apprehensive about dating, about stepping out into the world of romance,
Yeah.
companionship at this time?
Yeah, I think we always feel a little apprehensive about it, right? And then this
True.
time just compounds a lot of fears and some different insecurities, and our body has changed. And so I think it's important to understand who you are, where you are, and really be honest about it, especially if you're looking at going into a relationship. And I also think I had to learn, when I went back out there dating, I was in my early to mid 40s. I was smack dab in the middle of perimenopause. But I did feel like a lot stronger as a result of that too. I did
Mhm.
feel like I knew who I was a little bit better. I wasn't willing to put up with some of the stuff I put up with in my 20s. I kind of owned who I was at that point. And that's what I think, you need to do is not go back and look at who you were when you were dating last or
Right.
who you were when you were dating when you were 20 years old.
Yes.
Because that can be very that it's impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible to be able to do. And as a result, I met somebody who accepted me like this, so I wasn't pretending all along and trying to keep up some facade that I couldn't keep up the rest of my life.
I love that. And you're reminding me, there was well, I feel like you sort of exemplify self-love and self-care in this very particular way, especially in the context of a relationship. And I'm reminded of a post you shared not too long ago, and it said something like, who he thought he married, who he actually
Oh.
married, something like that. And it was hilarious, and I thought, good for her, but good for him too. And I guess, like, it was, to me, it sort of spoke to your remaining in alignment with who you are
Yeah.
right now. And
Yeah.
so, what do you want other women to
You have
consider
to.
about that? Yeah.
You can't keep that up.
Yeah.
I was laughing with some girlfriends about it because we were like, uh, like, oh, I'm in my lingerie and I'm walking out there and like, here's a glass of wine. And I went, that's not it. I'm in literally ripped pajamas. Like I wear the same, I have three pairs. I have black, gray, and a navy blue pair of the same stretched out, awful shorts, my pajamas. I'm like, this poor guy who he thought he was getting, but but he knew all along. I never misrepresented myself because I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I didn't have the patience or energy to
Yes.
keep up with being somebody I'm not.
Yeah.
Who has the time for that?
Yeah.
And who has the interest in that? And I don't want him to be with somebody that I'm not who I am. And I said to him recently, like the one pair got a tear in them, and I'm so upset. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do you think I should get a new pair? And he goes, I've been thinking you should get a new pair for like 2 years, but whatever you want to do, I still love you.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Don't get a new pair. Hang on.
I know I can't unless they like really rip. They're right at the seam. It's not going good. It's not going good for this one pair.
So, Tamsen, it's not mentioned in your bio yet, but you are collaborating with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, IIN, and you've just offered your first scholarship to recipient to go through the nutrition program. And I'm speculating why, but I'd love to hear why this collaboration.
Oh, well, first of all, that course that I did and that certification really changed my perception of a lot of things, and IIN helped me get back to what was important. Like, all along when I was in television and doing doing my job, I was like, someday I'll worry about all that other stuff. Like I wanted to, and I wanted to think about it. I wanted to be present. I always loved people that were like, lived their truth in terms of how they conducted themselves with their health and how they paid attention to their exercise and their nutrition. And so I decided, I guess it was probably over a year plus ago now, I lose track of time a little bit, but to finally break down and take the course. I'd wanted to do it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that integrative approach, like, look, I know that is not the only answer when it comes to menopause. I know there's a lot of different aspects to it, but that has helped me really focus on the areas that are important long term.
Yeah.
And so when I did that course and I met with the folks at IAN, like everything I stand for, I just love, and there's people go through the courses for a lot of different reasons. They go through the courses to either be a wellness coach or really to implement it in their own lives. And for me, it was a little bit of both, to be able to implement it in my life, but also to be able to talk about it openly. So as I'm writing the book, it's been so easy for me to be able to incorporate a
Mm,
lot of the stuff that I've learned and then have the science behind it,
yes,
to
yes,
understand it and understand different points of view. Like there's so many different reasons to eat certain ways, and there's so many different reasons for movement and breath work. Because with IIN, the primary nutrition is not the food, it's everything else in our lives. And I didn't
yeah.
know that. So anyway,
I love that. And I love that
yeah,
you're going to be able to bring it to a menopause conversation, right? Because so much of what we maybe need to reprioritize or sort of throw back in
yeah,
heartily in our toolkit, if you will, is nutrition,
yeah,
self-care,
yeah,
stress mitigation. It's this
yeah,
really holistic approach
yeah,
to our wellness, our
yeah.
longevity, whatever you want to
It,
call
well, it is, and it's also not just during this time. I
it.
think
Yeah,
it's also what so you're postmenopausal now, and what you're just going to stop taking care of yourself because you don't have to worry because you're not like
it's
that's not the way it
yeah,
goes.
yeah.
My father's 84, and I bring him up a lot, but he's 84 years old. He lost my mom, he lost my stepmom. This man goes out walking every day. He goes to the gym, strength training 3 times a week. He takes guitar lessons. Like,
Wow.
I was like, he understands without ever taking a
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
what's important for lifestyle. And so that's really kind of what I want to live and embody.
I love that. Thank you for that. Pivot again.
Let's
On
pivot.
to
I'm good.
I,
You
I
know that.
love pivoting with you. Okay, on to career stuff. You're inspiring to so many of us.
You're so
You
sweet.
yourself.
You
Oh,
give me so much confidence.
oh my gosh. I'm glad to do it. It's all in
Thank you.
earnest, really. But you have also been inspired, and I hear pieces of it.
Yeah.
I've heard pieces of that.
Yeah.
Um, I I can imagine the mental exercise that went into leaving your career in journalism. I hate to say leaving because you
No, it's
you're
okay.
you're you're present in media, if you will, and we see you. But you have switched gears and relaunched.
Yeah.
And again, I guess sort of what was the inspiration for that? And what was the process? What was the exercise?
Ooh.
What would you share with us about those of us who want to, for those of us who want to do it or
Yeah.
thinking about it?
Um, well, it didn't come easy. It wasn't like a wake up one morning and go, I think I'm gonna pivot a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah,
It took
yeah.
years, because my identity was really wrapped around my job. Like there's no question about it. And for a long time I couldn't figure out who I would be if I wasn't in my job or in my role or in my, in that seat, right? And so that was a scary part of it. But I think what happened was I opened myself up to learning a lot of other things. And so I couldn't tell you today, like I have an exact clear picture of exactly where it's going to be in 3 to 5 years. I do not. I couldn't, if I couldn't tell you that. But I can tell you that every single day I wake up really excited about what I'm doing. I worked hard on making sure that, I knew what I was going to do for, the financial aspect of things. I knew what I wanted to do to how I wanted to schedule my day in terms of having a little more autonomy.
Sure.
And then also figuring out what I wanted to do long term. Like what was my message? What was my, what did I,
Mm,
what was a legacy I wanted to leave here, right? And I felt with what I was doing before, I love telling stories and I love implementing change as a result of stories, but I wasn't feeling that purposeful thing anymore. It wasn't in there. And so I just wanted to tell different stories in a different way. And so that was important. So it was having a plan, really examining what I was going to be able to do and then thinking about it. Like I played it out in my mind so many times. Like, what am I going to do when I wake up in the morning and I don't have a place to go? What am I going to do when I want to make sure that I'm telling a story the right way? What's the platform I'm going to use? So I did play those out for a long time.
yeah.
But I will tell you, I was with a couple of women at South by Southwest, and all three of us had done sort of moved into another career. And each one of us said, "Do you look back ever?" And all of us were like, "No,"
Oh,
all at the same time.
that's so
And that's a
awesome.
cool place to be.
That is
Yeah.
a very,
Yeah,
very
that's a
cool
cool
place
place
to
to
be
be.
and an aspirational place. And I hear loving to learn is a big deal,
Yeah.
whatever it is, you know, like
Yes.
your dad playing guitar, and, you know, just
Yeah.
constantly either
Yeah.
revisiting something of interest or trying something new,
Yeah.
and then thinking about how you want to show up to
Yep.
really,
All of it is
really
so
help.
important.
I love that. Thank you. Okay, I'm getting close to the end, which I don't want to.
No, I love it.
Here we are. What's one piece of advice or insight that you wish more people would take to heart, regardless of their age or stage in life?
You know, I think this answer always changes over the years, but I would definitely say is like listening to your gut, because I think we really always know the answer inside, but it's a lot easier to ask everybody,
Yeah,
you know, to chime
for
in and be a
sure,
poll. And I
for
think it can
sure.
be really confusing when we do that. My brother used to say, you run around polling people for your answers. And I did for a very long time. I'd be like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I think I've really realized that like I actually deep down know the answer, and there's a little bit of a piece in that.
Yeah,
And then I also would say that during this time in life that you have to start really thinking about what's important for you, because we have spent so many years, especially as women, doing it for everybody else. And it's really hard to put that focus back on ourselves. It's almost easier to put it on other people,
yeah.
but I think it's really important to turn that back on ourselves. And even if you just do a little bit at a time, I think it's kind of critical.
And, you know, just thinking back to what you said a little while ago, sort of having really showing up authentically now, sort of the
Yeah.
stuff, whatever the protective garbage was that we walked around with, has sort of fallen away now.
Yeah.
So it maybe hopefully is easier to access what really feels like you, what really makes sense
Yeah.
to you, what your gut is telling you, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. It's exactly what it is. It's like we walked around with so much. It's like we walked around with like all this armor, you know, for
Yeah,
so long,
yeah,
and to shed some of that and be able to figure out who you are and be proud of it. And that's where you know, when you asked me where a little bit ago, when you asked me, you know, how I came to that decision. Before the pandemic, I was looking around at women and I kept calling it their now what? Like I would go like, now what am I supposed to
yeah.
be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? Now what? What's next? What's next? And I couldn't get that answer. So it took a long time. Like it's been years to make that pivot, but it took years because I was trying to shed some of that, trying to shed some of the stuff I'd been walking around with. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Your
you.
questions are
Okay.
always so
You're
thoughtful.
coaching. Thanks, Tamsen.
I really
Oh,
enjoy
thank you.
talking to you.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Um, Last five questions, which is actually
Give me.
maybe like seven,
Okay.
but for our last 5 minutes,
Yeah.
your most treasured possession.
Oh gosh, what a good question. I didn't know about this one. Um, I have a ring from my mom that is like forever, forever, forever. So anytime like I'm stressed out or I like kind of just rub it, and I don't know. That I just feel like a little bit of her power. Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yep.
Which talent would you most like to have?
My talent that I'd love to have.
Yeah.
I want to be able to
Oh
sing.
my God. Can I tell you? I feel like that's my thing too, but I was going to say, I bet she can sing already.
Well, I think I can, but I can't, you know, I think I
All
can.
right. All right. All right. All right. I love it. A trait you don't like about yourself and a trait you love about yourself.
A trait I don't like about myself. Oh, at night I go to bed. Sometimes I'm like, is so and so mad at me? Did I do this okay? Was that
Oh,
okay? Like that's my nighttime list. And
yes.
then a trait I like about myself. I think that this is recent, but somebody said to me yesterday, like, I like that sometimes you say spicy things and you don't care. And I was like, I do? And
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, I like that now.
Okay. I'm going
That's a
with
brand
it.
new trait.
Yes.
I didn't
Oh,
even
I
know.
love it.
So
I
that's
love
good.
it. I love spicy. Okay. You're hosting a dinner party, inviting 3 people living or historical.
Oh
Who's at your
gosh.
table?
Uh, well, I mean, Oprah's coming.
Okay. Okay.
Let's
Oprah's on the list.
see. Uh, uh, I mean, my mom would have to be there because she was a big
Yeah.
fan of Oprah.
Yeah. I bet.
And I don't know who the third is. Gosh, there's so many
I know. It's
that
okay.
I think about. No, I think I don't know who the third would be. I have to think. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Okay,
That's
okay.
a
We'll
really
get
good
back.
question. That's
Don't worry.
hard.
Okay, it is
You.
hard. It is hard. Okay, there. Finally, Tamsen, what is your current state of mind?
My current state of mind is excitement slash gotta go,
Yeah,
gotta get it done, gotta get it
yeah,
done. That's how
you're
I'm feeling right
dialed in.
now. I
Yeah.
feel
Oh,
dialed in. Yeah.
Tamsen Fadal, you're just like, mm, whatever
Well,
that
back
is.
at you. I hope we can
Hug,
go. I hope we can
love,
do this
just
more.
can we please? I
I would
I
love it.
absolutely love spending time with you. You are just a treasure and a pleasure.
Thank you.
Um, you are loved and popular for every reason that we can all see and hear and feel. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
here. It was
Thank
just
you for
a
such a
joy.
thoughtful
Oh,
interview. I love it.
thanks, Tamsen.
Okay. I hope I can see you soon, my
Good,
friend.
good. Me too. Be well. Thanks,
All right.
everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.